like the most annoying thing was like finding a date that worked with my schedule. And I was on the road on a stand-up tour with Alana, and then I had like 4 days back in New York, and then I was going to Miami for a week for Maisel, and I was like, I don't want to be nauseous in Miami at work, so I guess I'll try and do it on Saturday if you guys, and they were like, we do Saturdays. I was like, oh, okay, great. Like, just really, the bureaucracy of making a medical appointment, which is not unique to abortion. It's any medical experience.
Babies fuck up your plans even before they exist.
That does sound true. I wouldn't know. I only know this limited experience with one.
So you had a work trip, right? You said 24 hours after you had it done, you had a work trip?
I think it was Saturday afternoon was when I did it, and Monday morning I had a flight. So like 36 hours.
Damn. Wow.
Yeah.
So
it was fun.
And how soon did you know immediately that you wanted to do a whole show about this? Did you just start telling jokes about it? How did the whole thing kind of snowball into what it became?
At the time, I was just like, I got to get through this, which was like pretty simple. But then I was like, I remember I was on that work trip, or no, it was the Sunday. So I had it on Saturday. Sunday, we were doing If You Build It, my old stand-up show that I was running with Robert Dean at Subculture. And I showed up, and we were both sitting there early in the chairs. And I was like, ugh, I had an abortion yesterday. And he was like, Jesus Christ. Just like,
Spit
come
take.
on, lives.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm not he was like, are you going to talk about it? I was like, not tonight. Cause I'm like, I don't know what to say yet. And then it's just me being like, I had an abortion. And it's like, are there jokes yet? And it's like, oh no, of course not. This happened like 8 hours ago. But then like I got back from the work trip and was out doing stand up again. And I was like, I think I can write some abortion jokes. I'm like, we've both been doing stand up for a long time. I think you've seen a lot of abortion jokes. I know I have, but none of them have been from the perspective of someone who's had one. It's usually about the politics of abortion, or abortion is used as like a theoretical punchline to something. Like, I'd rather have an abortion than, I don't know what things people do.
The word itself is often used as a punchline.
Yes.
Kind of lazily so.
Yes, exactly. And I was like, I think I could get there. And I remember the first time I was doing a show at Secret Loft. And it was like a pretty good it was packed. And like, I just like, it's so interesting how much the confidence plays into how people receive this material. And I just wrote, these were just like some very basic early jokes. Many of them are still in the show as it exists now, but like just kind of out of nowhere. Like, I'm like, grocery shopping's hard. Anyway, I had an abortion. And it's like, okay, well, it's a hard pivot for a lot of people. And I understand that. But I wrote like, 2 or 3 minutes of jokes. And I was just like, well, something about me. I had an abortion. And I could just tell that I wasn't confident just because I didn't know if the jokes would work yet or not. And it felt like very vulnerable and hard to say that on stage. And I haven't been a particularly vulnerable comic in my career. It's a lot of dumb jokes about like getting my hair cut. So it was like kind of new, even though I like talk about myself on stage, like this was very like review. And this is something that people have judgments on that have nothing to do with me, that have everything to do with their own beliefs and politics and things like that. So it's hard to, most people don't have those opinions of dumb day-to-day jokes, but they do about something this personal and this kind of like corporeal and political. And it was just silence for like the whole 3 minutes. And I was like, I'm going to keep saying these because I'm not going to bail on it, even though that does seem like my vibe would be to quit early. But after that first time, I was like, even though it didn't go well, I was like, that is not indicative of like there's something. And then like I started just doing like, I had like got to like 5 minutes that were like working in most rooms that like I could do kind of I could like kind of like do a bit about birth control that could kind of tiptoe us in there. And then I could do like a couple minutes of abortion jokes and that would be fine. And then I just kind of kept adding to it. And all of a sudden I like blinked and I was like, there's like 15 minutes here. And like, wow, the birth control piece that I used to kind of like wade into these waters, like is connected. Maybe there's a bigger thing here of like how many other things kind of like this whole story of well, it's about birth control and not being on it. It's also about sex and relationships and then abortion. And then my mom and I was like, there's something here. So then I just sat down and like wrote out like, what is a show like this? And there was a version that I did it in 2020 and then, not again until later in 2020 or 2021, I guess. I didn't do stand up at all until we got the vaccine because I was like too scared.
Yeah.
So it kind of like, it just kind of happened like naturally because like I kept thinking of things that I never heard about abortion that like are funny. Like I was like, everybody in the waiting room was wearing leggings. It was like going to a Soul Cycle class. And it's like, that's really something that is hilarious. But
except
also
the doctor screams at you even more.
Yeah. It's like power through.
What
You're
have
like,
you
I'm
done?
on drugs.
Yeah.
Do you want it? No.